Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praises to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. I pray that the Most High blesses this lesson this evening, gives more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past, in order to understand events that are currently happening on the earth. So we get a much better understanding of the things that are soon to come on the earth. Brethren, we're going to be getting into this video talking about the global reset is coming. Excuse me. And they, make it seem as if this global reset is a new thing. And they make it seem as if it's the elites that are doing it. And they've written this into their prophecy in order to hide the fact that this global reset started 800 years ago. That's why you have to get into these other books and get this deeper understanding. The global reset started 800 years ago. Started when the last Great Conjunction appeared, like the one we just saw. But see, you're going to see now how the churches have twisted everything. They will not get into the Israelites, the true Israelites. They will not get into the conjunction, 800 years ago. But they will come up with an entirely new doctrine that makes it seem as if this is the first global reset. And now we got plenty of people who look like us who have done the same thing, who have taken, this dogma, hook, line, and sinker, and sold it to our people. They sold it to our people in the churches, and now they're also selling it to us in this awakening. Nothing, and that's something that when I came into the truth, I really noticed, like as far as like the prophecies and things like that, didn't really change. It changed a little bit, but pretty much the vast majority of the prophecies stayed the same, following the same things as the church. That there's going to be a chip, a vaccine. There's going to be, that's the way they're going to control the people, and you won't be able to buy or sell. And then there's going to be a global reset, and then Jacob's trouble will begin. That's what we learned in the churches, and that's what we learned when we first came into the awakening. But now, with the other books the Most High said he was going to give us, and the increase in knowledge, we understand that many of these events happen. But the thing is, we're going to get into real quick here with Perry Stone, is you're going to see how the churches and even our own people have twisted prophecy. If they're still pushing the chip and everything happening in the future, they're following along with the Gentiles and the priests of Mahan, and they're teaching that pretty much the last 800 years hasn't mattered. The last 800 years, has not been Jacob's trouble. But it's something that's going to happen in the future. So let's check this out right now. But you can easily see right now is that Esau's trouble has already began, and it's not going to get any better. I heard that on Monday, they're going to start to make people produce a negative plague test if you're coming from the UK. Now, I just heard on Lisa's video, and I've heard it also on other news broadcasts, that the new strain of the plague, the mutant strain, is not detectable with the test that we have now. So, if the new strain is not detectable, then everyone's going to have a clean test coming over here if you're carrying the new virus, the new mutant plague. So a test really isn't going to help as far as the spreading or not spreading of this new mutant plague. So that's why you have to kind of really listen when they're talking, because a lot of things aren't making any sense. And we know why. It's because the Most High is in charge. And the Most High is leading them to their demise. So certain, actions that they're taking right now don't make any sense. It's like, wow, you guys are just really kind of like cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's like you're just, you're committing suicide. You're like killing yourselves. Well, that's the Most High for you. He gave them leaders, to pretty much match up with the kind of people they are. So they got Trump. And Trump's pretty much at this point, he's just, torpedoing everything. You say, oh, okay. You guys don't want to help me with this election? Y'all want to keep out? You all just want to move on? Okay. I got something for you. Vetoes. No, I'm gonna let all my friends out. Vetoing this, vetoing that. Things that, would be if they thought that their society was going to continue, they would easily agree on things and let their society continue. But the Most High is using them to destroy themselves. But now let's take a look here at this global reset is coming. Yes, see, the global reset is coming, but they forgot about the global reset that they already had. Their whole, out is being raptured away. But see, they don't tell the people that, hey, yeah, we already had a global reset. Yeah, we already did these things to the Israelites. Yeah, this global reset is for them. Yeah, that star in the sky, the conjunction in the sky, that was a sign to the Most High's chosen people that their time has come, and that the time of Esau and the Gentiles is over. So they're not going to tell you that. They're going to tell you that you're going to get raptured away because you said Jesus. And we know how that's going for you. Let's go ahead and start.
We have a very special, what we call mini, which means brief, prophetic message on a phrase that you are beginning to hear quite extensively on social media and now on the news. Many people, however, don't understand what this phrase actually means. It's a phrase called the global reset. You're going to be hearing more and more about this, especially if Joe Biden is the candidate that will become the next president. As this system and the party that he is connected with is a part of what I'm about to share with you. And it's very interesting because I believe that there is a prophetic implication, a very strong one, based on the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation, as to the idea of what men are calling in the business world and the corporate world and even world leaders, the global reset. Now, first of all, let me explain to you just a little bit about, I say, Prophecy 101. In Daniel chapter 2, King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream of a metallic image. The head was of gold, the chest and arms were made of silver, the thighs were brass, there were 2 legs that were all of iron, and then when it came down to the 2 feet and the 10 toes, it became a mixture of clay and iron. Now, without going into the history of who these empires are represented by in these metals, the one that we are interested in is not just the 2 legs, which is the split of the Roman Empire between Eastern and Western Rome, or Rome, Italy, and what became known as Constantinople, which is located in Turkey. But what we're interested in is to look at the 2 feet that have the 10 toes. Now, we do know when we go to the book of Revelation that John identified something that Daniel saw as well, which was a beast with 10 horns and 7 heads. The 7 heads were major empires of Bible prophecy, all the way up to a 7th empire that would exist at the time of the early stages of the Great Tribulation. And that's what I want to show you here in this global reset, or the theory of a global reset. Now, when we look at the prophetic scriptures, we do know that the 10 horns on the beast that both Daniel and John saw are 10 nations ruled by 10 kings or 10 leaders. We also know for a fact from reading the prophetic scriptures that the 10 toes on the image that Nebuchadnezzar saw in his dream that were a mixture of clay and iron are also the 10 kings with 10 nations at the very end of days. Now, what's important about those 10 is this, that the Bible tells us in Daniel that in the days of those kings will the God of heaven set up a kingdom that shall not ever end. And also in the vision that Daniel saw,
Now, a lot of times what I see is that people get caught up with the numbers and, making sure all these nations fit and everything else. Well, a lot of this happened during the first conjunction. And we know that they've changed history, they've changed the dates, they've changed, the times. So it's very difficult to get a lot of that information. Hence why we need to concentrate on these conjunctions. Because the Most High wrote our story in the stars, in the skies. And they've been at it trying to make us, anything that will lead us back to our Father, they make it as evil. And that's what they've been doing, right? And right now, even with this history, even with the 1619 and 2019, that's part, of the prophecy. But the previous conjunctions and all that information is hidden as well. That's why they've done such a good job of hiding it, because they want you to think that nothing has happened for the last 800 years and everything is now about to happen.
Saw the stone which was cut out of the mountain without hands. This is the kingdom of God. This is the Messiah come crashing down on the nations of this world. And that's why.
And that's, the Most High coming back on these nations, cracking those skies open, revealing who he is, revealing who his people are. That's where we're at. See, that's why people don't realize how close we are to the end, because they still think that there's all these other events that have to take place. We're going to go into a little bit of information right now.
John in Revelation said, now the kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our God and his Christ. Now that's just a little bit of a basic idea.
So that's not until the end. The nations of this world, going back to the Most High. That's stuff that's going to happen here at the end. And that's where we're at right now. See, they've already had all their time, had their run, and they have been going, hell-bent on hiding that information. And this guy's over here talking about Joe Biden as him being elected president has something to do with these prophecies. But that's what they have to do. They have to talk about things that are happening right now in order to, make you think that prophecy still, has all these different years and all these different things that have to happen. And, Ish needs to take over, and rebuild their temple and the third temple, and the Antichrist is about to come in the future. All this stuff that keeps the sheep asleep. I just heard a few days ago that Ish's government just collapsed. They're having issues. How is the Most High's chosen people having all these issues? Their women, turn into the Muslim man now. Same things that were happening to us with our women. Our women turning to the other nations. That was all part of the curses. Now Ish is having the same things going on with them. Their women, are turning to the other nations. But I thought, those were the Most High's chosen people. But see, they're suffering the curses now just like everyone else over there in this whole world. The Jews and the Gentiles. They're suffering. Their nation is suffering. So like I said, through the actions of the Most High, he reveals who are his people and who are not his people. Let's continue.
About the 2 feet and the 10 toes. Most of my life, when I would hear prophetic teaching when growing up, they would always talk about the 10 kings, but they never talked about the 2 feet, because you have 5 toes on each foot. And it's the 2 feet which represent the east and the west. The iron and the clay can actually represent, in our time, communism, the iron curtain, the iron hammer, the iron sickle of communism, and the clay, democracy. Even one of
Seriously. Well, that's why he said it can be, maybe. But you see, like when they got these titles behind them and all these numbers of people following them, when they say maybe or might be, people assume that it's a for sure thing because they don't do any research to counter anything otherwise. Communism and democracy. You guys serious? Both systems of the damned. Both of those systems are for the Gentiles. Democracy, demon rule. Come on, man. But that's what they have to do. They have to set up, these situations where these people are constantly fighting with each other. Democrats, Republicans constantly fighting. Democracy, communism constantly fighting, so that you won't look for the truth.
One of the early church fathers talked about the clay in Daniel being democracy.
See, the early church fathers. Yeah, and here you go.
So there is this mingling of us as Americans going into communist China and doing business with them. Communist China, North Korea, and you also have the nations of Vietnam that are producing.
You see this? Like I said, you see how they're still now communist China's part of the clay and the mixing. You see how ridiculous this sounds when you start actually getting more understanding. But they got to go into this. And it said this is what goes on in many churches. It's not like it's just him. It's not just Perry Stone. These guys are always trying to find some contemporary situations to try to push into prophecy. We're going to break down the real information shortly, but we're just going to let him kind of talk for a couple more minutes.
Products for the West, nations of democracy. So there's this mingling, but it says the iron and the clay really don't mix. And that's exactly how it is with the teachings that are found behind the freedom of democracy and the bondage of socialism and communism. I do want to give you two scriptures, and we're going to explain this in a little bit more detail. This,
seriously, there's no bondage in this system here. There's no bondage in democracy. That's what this entire nation has been founded upon. Bondage of a people. But see, they don't even acknowledge any of that. So like I said, there's no way you can have prophecy. You can have a good sense of prophecy or any sense of prophecy if you don't talk about the Most High's chosen people. So as they continue to refuse to bring up the Most High's chosen people and the bondage that they put us under, the worst things are going to get for them. Those are the times that we're in now. So you guys have been able to do it under your curse, under your blessing. You're able to just ignore everything. And see, now the Most High is making it so that every time you keep on just refusing to admit who we are, admit the Most High is sovereign, the worst things are getting for you. You had the plague part 1, and you guys have had about 9 months try to figure it out. You haven't told the truth. You've been lying about everything. You refuse to acknowledge our power. You refuse to acknowledge his people. You refuse to acknowledge the fact that you had them in bondage, and that's built up everything here for your democracy or democracy. And now the Most High is about to open up another can of whoop ass on you. And now, part 2 on steroids of the plague is now upon you. So as you continue to ignore everything you've done to us, the worst things are going to get for you. I mean, that's just one thing. I mean, part 2 of the plague. You're not talking about, jobless benefits, people getting evicted from their homes. People can't even go to the hospital for regular surgeries. The collapse of the medical system, the collapsing of your society, the collapsing of your economic system. That's all part of it. And this is all because you have refused to admit the truth.
This is John's vision in chapter 17, 12 through 13 in the Apocalypse. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings that have received no kingdom as yet, meaning at the time they exist, but they've not formed a kingdom. But they receive authority for 1 hour with the beast. The beast is the Antichrist. So whoever these 10 nations or 10 kings are, they could be existing right now. They have not received a kingdom, meaning a united front kingdom, a coalition of joining together as one, and will not receive it until the rise of the Antichrist actually takes place. Although John says they were existing in his vision. And of course,
okay, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about, because this is where we get to the truth. He's talking about a group of people or kingdoms that have not received a kingdom as of yet. Well, actually listen to that part one more time. Let me just go back. I want you to really get a good sense of what he's talking about here, because this has already happened. They've already received this, but they won't admit it. They've already received this authority, this power. So I'm sure there was a group of kingdoms back then that all came together during 800 years ago, and they received our people. They were confederate against our people, and they took over our land. It started over there in Europe, and then eventually made its way over here to the New World, to them anyways, over here in the Americas. Okay, so let's listen again.
His vision was referring to the future, not something happening back in his day. Revelation 9:11. I'm sorry, that's a misprint on my part. It's Revelation chapter, I believe, 17, verse 11. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. There are also 7 kings. 5 are fallen. 1 is. The other's not yet come. When he comes, he must continue for a short space. The beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th.
Before they go back where I want
This
to.
is John's vision in chapter 17, 12 through 13 in the Apocalypse. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings that have received no kingdom as yet, meaning at the time they exist, but they've not formed a kingdom. But they receive authority for 1 hour with the beast. The beast is the Antichrist. So whoever these 10 nations or 10 kings are, they could be existing right now. They have not received a kingdom, meaning a united front kingdom, a coalition of joining together as one, and will not receive it until the rise of the Antichrist actually takes place. Although John says they were existing in his vision. And of course, his vision was referring to the future, not something happening back in his day. Revelation 9:11. I'm sorry, that's a
Okay, so you got these people or these kingdoms that were present, but they had not received their kingdom. They had not received their blessing as of yet during the, when Daniel was writing right there. Or John, right, in Revelation, okay? So, when did they receive their kingdom? When did these people see, if you listen to him, this is something that's going to happen in the future. But we know that this has already happened. When did all these countries, come together against our people? I'd venture to say it would be actually, like I said, during the Great Conjunction 800 years ago. That was when all these countries came together, and they were confederate against who? The Most High's chosen people. You can't get caught up with these names of these countries that did not exist back then. Everything is the Most High's chosen people or the other nations. That's it. There's no middle ground. There's only 2 churches. The Most High's, okay, and his people, and the Church of Mahan. That's it. So when everyone comes together, that they're going to receive their kingdom. They're receiving their time. They're receiving their authority. The church and everything else, the society, the schools, everything else, have wiped all that away. They'll get you talking about the Christian crusades and then the Muslims and this group and that group, and all of a sudden all the the Russians and the Americans, and they're all the same people. They're all the same people. They received their glory. They received their blessing around 800 years ago during the other Great Conjunction that was similar to the one we just had. That was the first global reset. We were still in charge. We were still being blessed. People still knew who we were. People still knew who our power was. We still had our power working with us until the Most High took that away from us, took away the power, took away the ley lines. Then the other nations got confederate to take us down worldwide, or at least in the 3 parts first. So, that's something that already happened. We already know that. Let's read a couple scriptures that goes along with that. This is not something that's going to get, whatchamacallit, play or, or talked about by the other nations, because they know that they cannot refute what we're bringing out. I could care less about them using their history, these dates don't match this. And, dude, you guys have changed up so much stuff. We're not worried about what you guys have to say or your breakdowns of history, because like I said, you've had plenty of time to tell the truth, and you've done nothing but work together to keep everything secret. And that would make sense because, hey, you guys are all together. Psalms 83. This is what was happening back then. Psalms 83. We'll start at 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. All the other nations hate us. So they've all banded together against us. And like I said, this happened 800 plus years ago. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So it's about us. It's not about just lands. It's also about taking away our identity, taking away our knowledge of self, and giving us every other name, everybody else's name. They want Israel to may be no more in remembrance. So they go around and do what? Destroy our lands. And then what do? It's hugely important for them to rebuild over the ruined places. This is how they do what against? Maybe no more, the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Our sacred sites are taken away, and they build on top of them because they don't want us to be in remembrance anymore. That's why it was such a huge importance to them to make sure that they turned everything, pretty much destroyed everything and quickly rebuild on our sites. This is the global reset. This is why you look all over the place and you're now seeing all this, people are finding our relics and they look like us. They're finding our temples and they're finding, rocks and sculptures that look like us. All over the place in Asia. It's not, I said over there as well. They'll have temples and they'll have people down there that look like us. So I said, this is all over the place. This is all over the world. They took over our lands and everybody got a piece. But then over time, Esau will be reneging on stuff. People will be fighting about, I want your land, this and that. I want what you guys have, what you have, and they're always fighting with each other. That's the ways of the Gentiles, are always fighting with each other. So we know, that they work together, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So it's like, okay, well now, Asians, we're going to put these people here. You guys have been here the whole time. Irish, we're going to take this place. The British, we're going to take this place for ourselves. Okay? So they're giving everybody their little slice, in order for people to keep silent. That's why they want everybody to be Confederate. They want everybody. That's why they get so upset when you don't do what they do. Like when we don't celebrate Christmas, and everybody gets upset because we don't want to go and celebrate with them. It's because they want everybody to be complicit together. So if they go down, everybody's going to be going down. Let's read a little bit more. 5. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. They've all agreed to be against us. Okay? Worldwide. So I want to read one more thing here from the Book of Mormon. 1 Nephi 13. And let's go to just 9. Verse 9. 1 Nephi 13, verse 9. And also the praise of the world do they world do they destroy the saints of God and bring them down into captivity? Let's go to 8 and 9, okay? 3 to 8. And the angel spake unto me, saying, Behold, the gold and the silver and the silks and the scarlets and the fine twined linen and the precious clothing and the harlots are the desires of this great and abominable church. And also for the praise of the world do they destroy the saints of God and bring them down into captivity. So, again, this church that already got their blessing, they're getting the what? They're getting the praise of the world, okay, for destroying the saints. Okay? For destroying the saints of God and bring them into captivity. So, as you can see, this is not something that's going to happen in the future. They've already taken us into captivity. The whole world was praising the priests of Mahan for taking us down. Because why? Because they're all Confederate. You see how this is all working out. And they're going to hide that 800 years of them being Confederate against us. So now that they're right now, they're still trying to hide it. But these are prophecies that already happened. They already came up against us. But see, these guys here, these pastors are all Confederate to hide those 800 years. They can't even agree on 1619 and 2019. They can't even agree on that. They won't even bring that up. And that's right there in your face. That's really easy to see. That, we were enslaved. It's in secular history books. This country has benefited from that. But they can't even admit something that simple. Now they're not going to go back another 400 years and talk about how they were destroying our people over there in Europe as well. They're not going to talk about that. But you see, this is what happens now. That's why I say you cannot push a Jacob's trouble coming unless you are willing to forget about the last 800 years. Now I see the churches doing that. And now I'm seeing people that are actually supposedly in this awakening doing the same thing. Why don't they talk about the last 800 years? Why aren't they bringing up the last two conjunctions? Or the last, the two conjunctions, yes. Why aren't they bringing that up? And how it fits with the things that have been happening to our people worldwide. See, all they want to push is Judah went through destruction in 70 AD, and that's it. But see, that's why they hid Paul's connection with Britain and Ireland and the Druids and the people there being our people. So, when these guys are going through their crusades against the Christians, or they say Muslims or whatever else, like I said, you got to understand who was in charge, who was running certain areas. You just got to take one part of Europe and make it seem like that's all of Europe. So all we know is that our people were there, they got taken down, and then someone else took all of our history as if they were already there, wrote them, just took our history, the Hebrew history, translated it for themselves, and now all of a sudden everybody in Europe's white. And you look, like the good people are white, the bad people are white. They just took us out of absolutely everything, like we were never there. But in Enoch, see, right now everybody is blind. The ones that Most High is waking up are able to see this. But in Enoch 88 and verse 115, it talks about how everyone was going to be blind. The Israelites and the Gentiles. And that's exactly what's going on. Not until the end, when the Most High starts to actually give us understanding. Now it makes so much more sense. Let me see here. I'm going to read a couple of other verses here. Let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 17 and 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage, that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, okay, which shall burn forever. So right there, discontinue from thine heritage. Our heritage is not just our names. Our heritage is also our lands. When they destroyed our sacred places and rebuilt them, this land does not look the same. The trees are not the same. And that goes worldwide. The trees, the plants are not the same. The animals are not the same. Our sacred spots do not look the same. So it's also like a land that you know not, because it doesn't look the same. But this is all part of the other nations and their great reset. Them being on top. See, everybody else makes it seem as if the only way that our lands, you can be on a land you don't not is by taking you physically from one place to another. We don't recognize our lands because this is not what our lands are going to look like when the Most High recharges everything. When the Most High gets a chance to, or when He's ready to give us everything back. That's why here in 2 Ezra 2:7. Let their names be put out of the earth, for they have despised my covenant. So our names are going to be put out of the earth. Our sacred places out of the earth. Everything that makes us who we are, gives us our power, is going to be changed. Odes of Solomon, 10-13. Deceiver and error will imitate the beloved, the bride. They will cause the world to err. They cause them to vomit up their wisdom and their knowledge. We had our wisdom and knowledge taken from us. So a lot of these books have been hidden, taken away. The Testament of Asher. If you have the Old Testament pseudepigrapha, it's page 818, verse 7. You shall not know your own lands, tribe, or language. All of that information is going to be taken away from us. Lands are huge. Not going to know our own lands. Not going to know what's underneath them. Not going to know about the ley lines. But what's going to happen here at the Great Reset? But He will gather you in faith through His compassion and on account of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So I think we've shown you right here how the whole world was confederate and taken away everything from us. And this has already happened for the last 800 plus years. So them trying to just kind of take a big step over all that and then act like, okay, well now Jacob's trouble is going to begin, is a bunch of BS. Continue a little bit more.
It's print on my part. It's Revelation chapter, I believe, 17, verse 11. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. There are also 7 kings. 5 are fallen. 1 is. The other's not yet come. When he comes, he must continue for a short space. The beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th, and is of the 7, meaning one of the 7 previous kingdoms, but he's going to go into perdition, and the Greek word there is destruction. Now, let me just make this real simple for people that are new to prophecy. In this vision, there are 5 empires that have fallen. I can name them biblically: Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Media, Persia, and Greece. In John's day, one kingdom was, you know what that was? Very simply, the Roman Empire, or the Roman Republic, or what is called Imperial Rome. When John wrote the Apocalypse from the Isle of Patmos in about 95 to 99 AD, Rome was ruling the world. Rome, Italy was the capital of the Roman Empire. Now he says this one exists.
Whoa. They were ruling the world of the 3 parts. Okay? Not the 4th part.
Right now, but he says there's coming one, this will be number 7 now, which continues a short space. Then out of that will come the 8th empire, which is the empire of the Antichrist with his 10 kings, that rules for about the last 42 months of the 7-year tribulation period. Now, here's my point. I've been preaching and telling people for 20 years, be looking for a global government, that somewhere down the road, the United States will have leadership which will emphasize complete globalism. It's possible the United States will be put under a global tax. It's possible the United States will have gun laws passed that are more like Europe has.
You hear this? I mean, now the dude's going into all these things that might happen. You do a lot of conjecture about how bad things are going to get for the United States and some gun laws being passed.
I went to preach in England and had two security guards who were, one of them was a former Navy.
All right, that's enough. Because he's just going to sit here and talk about how they don't have any guns, and this is not in England, and they're going to want to do that here and take away your guns. So, like I said, you got to come up with whatever you guys can at this point to make it seem as if things are going to get bad for you, because I guess the last 800 years things are just not good for you as well. And now you got to pay for all that. Yeah, but then that's the thing. You're going to have to pay for it, but you're paying for it because of what you did to the Most High's chosen people. Like I said, now Most High is ratcheting things up. And just imagine how bad things are going to go, are going to go down actually quickly if Trump doesn't sign that law, that bill. The government shuts down. People aren't getting their money. Like I said, it's just amazing. And all because they still don't admit the truth. But the Most High is going to make it worse where, like he said, they're going to admit the truth. And that's all part of prophecy too. They are going to admit the truth. That was written, and we'll talk about that really quick. Hosea 1 and 10. They're going to keep on saying, no. No, I don't want to hear about those black people. No. They're just a bunch of niggas. No. That we're not gonna have to pay for what we did to them. What are you talking about? God's all love. Like I said, yeah. Oh, he loves everyone, correct? John 3:16. So if he loves us all, that means you're gonna have to pay for what happened to us. It's really simple. As much as you say no, that doesn't make it so. Hosea 1 and 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living power. So that's what's coming. And the Most High is breaking you down already. He's setting up a perfect storm already, where horrible times are coming at the Gentiles and Edomites and the 2/3 from all directions. So keep you actually just saying that we're not the people. That's all part of prophecy. You ignoring who we are. That's part of prophecy. You refusing to accept responsibility for your actions. That's all part of prophecy. We're living in some wonderful times, people. My brethren, I said we need to make sure we continue praying to the Most High. He's bringing the other nations to their knees rapidly. He's bringing his people up rapidly as well. He's showing us that the last 800 years was the global reset for or in favor of the Edomites and the Gentiles and the 2/3. This new global reset is for the Most High's chosen people, and for the Gentiles who are cleaving to the Most High and his people. If this isn't true, prove it. Go make a video and prove it. But we all know that you won't, because you can't. You can't prove any of this wrong, because this is the truth from the Most High. This is the truth that the Most High has given the Holy Spirit to share with us, to share with the world. All praise is to the Most High, Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledge Yahweh Shai. Shalom.